Malaysia's emergence as an AI manufacturing hub marks a striking turnaround for a country that not too long ago was better known internationally for the multi-billion-dollar 1MDB scandal. The Star. August 3, 2026. That sentence was published 2 weeks ago by one of Malaysia's most widely read financial newspapers. And the reason it matters is not because it is complimentary. It is because of the specific contrast it draws. A country that the world knew primarily for a financial scandal, now being described by the same financial press as an AI manufacturing hub, as Asia's growth standout, as the country that just climbed 8 spots in the global competitiveness rankings to 15th out of 70 economies. The world had a story about Malaysia. Malaysia was quietly writing a different one. And in 2026, the gap between the story the world was telling and the story the data was producing became too wide to ignore. This video is about that gap. It is about the race that Malaysia was not supposed to win. The race for AI infrastructure, for semiconductor dominance, for global competitiveness, for the category of economic transformation that moves a country from the footnote of the global economy to the center of it. And it is about the specific, documented, verifiable moment when the data stopped being a projection and started being a verdict. Malaysia did not just enter this race. The data says it already has it. Welcome to Shifted Perspective. This channel covers what is actually happening before the narrative catches up. Subscribe right now so you never miss what we uncover. Hit like if that opening quote changed something in how you were reading Malaysia's story. Drop one word in the comments, surprised or knew it. Tell me whether this was already on your radar. Let us get into the data. Let me start with the number that sets the context for everything else in this video. Because without this number, the rest of the data points feel like a list. With it, they feel like a verdict. Malaysia's competitiveness has improved markedly in recent years, climbing 8 spots to 15th among 70 economies in the 2026 International Institute for Management Development World Competitiveness Ranking after an 11-rung jump the previous year. Let me put that in plain language. In 2 consecutive years, Malaysia jumped 19 positions in one of the most credible global competitiveness rankings on Earth. Not 2 positions, not 5, 19. In 2 years. The IMD World Competitiveness Ranking assesses economic performance, government efficiency, business efficiency, and infrastructure across 70 of the world's most significant economies. It is the ranking that boardrooms and government ministers and investment committees use when they are deciding where to build the next factory, the next data center, the next regional headquarters. 15th out of 70. Ahead of France. Ahead of Australia. Ahead of Saudi Arabia. Ahead of Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, and the Philippines simultaneously. In the same ranking that measures the United States, Germany, Japan, and Singapore at the very top. And the IMD is not alone. JP Morgan raised Malaysia's 2026 GDP growth forecast to 5.3%, specifically citing AI-linked investments and electronics exports. The OECD flew its Director of Country Studies to Putrajaya on July 28 to present a 133-page economic survey that said Malaysia is raising per capita incomes faster than many of its regional peers. Time magazine called Penang the Silicon Valley of the East. The Edge Malaysia published a headline 2 weeks ago reading AI and chips are turning Malaysia into Asia's growth standout. These are not Malaysian government press releases. These are external institutions, foreign investment banks, international magazines, and peer-level economic bodies publishing verdicts about a country that most of the world had filed under developing nation and moved on from. The race nobody expected Malaysia to win is the race for global economic credibility. And the scoreboard says it is winning. But credibility rankings are institutional. Let me give you the industrial numbers underneath them because they are where the real story lives. Malaysia's electrical and electronics sector is projected to exceed Rm 800 billion in exports in 2026. That is nearly $200 billion from a single industry in a single year. For context, Malaysia's entire GDP in 2024 was approximately $422 billion. The semiconductor and electronics sector alone is on track to generate export revenue equal to nearly half of the country's total economic output. That ratio does not happen by accident. It happens because 54 years of compounding industrial development produced something that the AI boom suddenly made the most valuable thing in the global economy. Between 2021 and June 2025, Malaysia approved 143 data center investment projects with combined investments worth Rm 144.4 billion and the creation of 1,429 new jobs. Microsoft, Google, Amazon Web Services, Nvidia, every major hyperscale technology company on Earth, has made confirmed, funded, Operational investments in Malaysia's data center infrastructure. Malaysia captured 32% of Southeast Asia's AI funding. Not 32% of a small regional pool. 32% of the fastest-growing technology investment corridor in the world. Gamuda, the construction and engineering firm that is the key developer of Penang's Silicon Island, said in June that its order book hit a record high of RM52 billion as data center projects more than offset weakness in its property and infrastructure segments. A construction company's order book is one of the most reliable leading indicators in the economy. It shows what has been commissioned and is about to be built rather than what has already been announced. RM52 billion. Record high. Driven by data centers. That is the pipeline visible right now to the companies building Malaysia's digital infrastructure. Intel. More than $7 billion committed to Penang, including advanced three-dimensional packaging. Infineon. 5 billion euros to build the world's largest silicon carbide power fabrication plant in Kulim. And between 1.5 and 2 billion euros to expand in Kulim, backed by AMD. $250 million and a partnership for local chip design development. Expanding its Penang facility from 1 million to 3.4 million square feet. Texas Instruments. RM 14.6 billion across Kuala Lumpur and Malacca. Justin Chin, managing director of Gamuda Engineering, said the investment thesis for Malaysia still makes a lot of sense given its skilled English-speaking workforce and lower cost. Clients are doubling down on their capacity. Doubling down. Not maintaining. Not cautiously expanding. Doubling down. That is the language of conviction, not exploration. There is one data point in Malaysia's 2025 economic story that has received almost no coverage outside the country, and that changes the way every other number in this video should be read. Malaysia Services account recorded a surplus of RM 0.7 billion in the third quarter of 2025, the first surplus in 14 years. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim cited this achievement directly, attributing it to the Madani economy strategies, digital transformation through the new industrial master plan, the energy transition agenda, the national semiconductor strategy, and high-impact sectors including data centers. A services account surplus means that Malaysia is now earning more from the services it exports, technology services, data processing, cloud computing, digital infrastructure, than it spends on imported services. For a country that has historically run a services deficit, paying more for foreign expertise, foreign software, foreign digital infrastructure than it earns from its own, this is a structural shift. It means the data centers being built in Johor and Cyberjaya are not just consuming Malaysian land and electricity. They are generating Malaysian export earnings in a category that was net negative for 14 consecutive years. The investment wave is not just arriving. It is already changing the fundamental structure of Malaysia's balance of payments. Service export earnings from data center development are now showing very strong performance, stated Prime Minister Anwar. A Prime Minister citing data center export earnings in an economic address is the signal that digital infrastructure has moved from a growth aspiration to a measured, reported, balance of payments contribution. It is in the national accounts. It is changing the numbers. Here is why all of this constitutes winning a race nobody expected Malaysia to win. The conventional script for Malaysia's economic trajectory, the one written by development economists, investment bank analysts, and regional observers across the 2000s and 2010s, described a country at a specific and familiar crossroads. Malaysia had successfully industrialized. It had built a manufacturing base, raised living standards significantly, and positioned itself as a reliable production location for global supply chains. But the narrative said it was approaching the middle-income trap, the point where cheap labor advantages disappear before high technology and institutional capabilities develop enough to compete at the next level. The 1MDB scandal that broke internationally in 2015 and 2016 reinforced the narrative. Here was a country with genuine economic potential being undermined by the kind of institutional failure that confirmed, for many Western observers, that Malaysia was not yet ready to be taken seriously as a 21st century economy. The development community filed Malaysia under promising but complicated and moved its attention elsewhere. What happened in the years that followed? While the world's attention was on China's rise, on Silicon Valley's dominance, on India's IT sector, on the Gulf states' sovereign wealth diversification, is what makes the 2026 data so striking. Malaysia did not announce a dramatic transformation. It did not rebrand itself or launch a global marketing campaign or hold a series of high-profile summits about its potential. It built, quietly, consistently, factory by factory, chip by chip, data center by data center, infrastructure project by infrastructure project. And when the US-China technology war created the most significant supply chain restructuring in the history of the semiconductor industry, Malaysia was the country that was ready. Not because it got lucky. Because it had been getting ready for 54 years without the world paying particularly close attention. The Star's headline from August 3, 2026 is accurate because of what it implies. A striking turnaround. That phrase acknowledges that the world's expectation and the country's reality diverged. The data is now closing that divergence in a way that can no longer be ignored. And here is what intellectual honesty requires before this video declares a winner. Malaysia is 15th in the IMD Competitiveness Ranking. It is not first. Singapore is first in Asia. The United States and Switzerland lead globally. The race that Malaysia is winning is not the race to be the world's most advanced economy. It is the race to be taken seriously as a high-performing, high-growth, genuinely competitive economy in a category that the old developing nation label no longer accurately describes. The skill gap is real and documented. Skill-related underemployment among university graduates sits at 35.2%. Penang needs 50,000 more engineers than it currently has. 15% of semiconductor talent leaves Malaysia annually for higher salaries elsewhere. The $800 billion in semiconductor exports is largely generated by foreign-owned factories applying Malaysian labor to foreign-designed chips. The intellectual property, the design capability, the software, the commercial products. Those still sit predominantly with companies headquartered in the United States, Taiwan, South Korea, and Europe. Malaysia is winning the race to become the world's most important semiconductor manufacturing and AI infrastructure location. It has not yet won the race to capture the highest value layers of the technology economy. Those are two different races. The first one is already decided by the data. The second one is still being run. The ARM partnership, the Intel design presence in Penang, the AI Nation 2030 plan. These are the opening moves in a race that will take this entire decade to complete. In 2015, Malaysia was making international headlines for a financial scandal that cost the country billions and embarrassed its institutions on the global stage. In 2026, the Star is publishing headlines that red AI and chips are turning Malaysia into Asia's growth standout. JP Morgan is raising GDP forecast to 5.3%. The IMD ranks Malaysia 15th in global competitiveness after 19 places climbed in 2 years. ANE exports are on track for $800 billion. The services account recorded its first surplus in 14 years. 143 data center projects approved. 32% of Southeast Asia's AI funding. Intel, Infineon, AMD, ARM, Google, Microsoft, Nvidia all simultaneously committed. Nobody expected Malaysia to win this race. Not the development economists who filed it under middle-income trap. Not the Western observers who moved their attention elsewhere after 1MDB. Not the regional analysts who assumed Singapore, Taiwan, or South Korea would capture the AI infrastructure opportunity that the US-China tech war created. The data does not ask for permission to change the narrative. It changes it anyway. And the data on Malaysia in 2026 is saying something that is going to take the mainstream a few more years to fully absorb. Malaysia already won. Now I want to hear from you. Were you watching Malaysia's story before this video, or did this channel introduce it to you? Drop one word, before or after. Tell me when you started paying attention. And the bigger question. Which race do you think Malaysia wins next? Moving from semiconductor manufacturing to chip design, or becoming Southeast Asia's primary AI development hub? One answer. Drop it below. Subscribe right now because Shifted Perspective is tracking every chapter of this story as it develops. I will see you in the next one.